Well, hello, Bruce. How are you?
Hi, Mark. How are you? I'm
I'm
fine.
good. I gotta just adjust the lighting over here. We're live once again with some card talk and some Strat-o-matic chat. Um, had a chance to look over some of the new cards for 2023, and I found a couple of interesting ones. Tonight, maybe we could take a look at some of the top cards in the set, and maybe a couple of interesting cards along the way. Bruce, like this one. This is Matt Carpenter. Matt
Ah,
Carpenter of the New York Yankees. He's a low at bat kind of a guy, but Bruce, I don't know if you can see it. What a monster card for a low mutant card, a low at bat kind of a guy.
well, that is what this card set out to do. It really has freaks and all sorts of walks here. You're going to find uh, on base rules, and uh, even more importantly, uh, pitching galore.
Yes, there's a lot of pitching in this set, and if we stay on that Yankee team, we see a left-handed pitcher of interest, don't we?
There are some buttes out there, aren't there?
There is one guy that I think the Yankee fans would be interested in is Nestor Cortez.
Well, isn't that an awesome card?
Isn't that an awesome card? I don't think I have it in front of me to bring it out. I'm gonna have to take a quick look for it here. Got the Yankees set,
He,
but he's a left-hander who's basically blank.
yeah, so we can quit. They don't even need to see this card to see that he has home run one on 6.5. That gives him uh, a, a whole lot of .2 hit and 9 walk. That's,
Point two
that's
hit and nine walk.
against
But
lefties. They're not going to hit. There's nothing to hit there.
so
It's
I'm gonna
he's a little more pedestrian, but still with a team total, all told, it's a great card. Minus
spectacular
three.
card. I'm trying to find it over here on the set to kind of get a quick look at it, Bruce.
So
See if I
for
can find it here.
for a standard six starter set in a rotation, you get 27 starts, and 27 starts at 5 innings is 135 innings. And Nestor Cortez coming in with what 158. He's nearly 6 innings a start. It's a very formidable card. He's really come into his own.
He sure has. As I try to find the card, of course, I thought I had it over here. Here's another card just to kind of hold it off until I can find that Cortez card. Here's something that I think a lot of people were interested in seeing over here. Uh, this card right here, Aaron Judge.
Oh, that's number one card in the set, of course. And
Is it
that's
the
what.
number one card, or is Shohei Ohtani the number one card?
Oh, you know, I stand by what I said the last episode that Strat-o-matic sort by war drags in a Strat-o-matic defense and Strat-o-matic ratings as well. It's a very formative tool for what we do in Strat-o-matic. And when you sort all these cards by war in this set, number one is Aaron Judge.
Right. So that's what we are going to do tonight. Is talked a little bit last time about the great tool, the great sort tool that Stratomatic users have at their disposal. It's a great evaluation tool, and that is sorting by war. And in order to do that, what you do is you basically release all your players on your MLB 2022 cards into
After you
free
make
agency.
a copy of your major league file, make a
Yeah,
copy of
definitely make a backup copy of your major league file first. of course, goes without saying. Thank you, Bruce. And release all your players to your free agency, and then do a player sort by WAR. And of course, you could sort by batters by WAR, pitchers by WAR. You could sort positions, so you can compare different positions: catcher, second base, first base, infielders, middle infielders, so on and so forth. It's a very powerful tool. And this year, Bruce, what do we see when we evaluate our players by WAR?
Well, it, you should do this every year. If you're playing last year's set, you should always take a look at what you're dealing with. And this year, the top 20 is very straightforward. The players you know. Start with Judge. Judge would be number one, and what's that WAR? He's got an 11.3 Strat WAR. That's pretty impressive.
11.3 Strat WAR. I don't think we've seen that kind of a Strat WAR in many, many years. Could be the highest that we've seen in a while. So
but we looked at Judge's card. If you want to talk some
let's
more,
go down. Let's go down the list. Past Judge.
number two would be predictable. In Paul Goldschmidt is got a card enviable. That card against lefties is simply unbeatable. It is probably one of the best cards if ever made for a single side. So, and being a 1E1 doesn't hurt. I mean, if there was no Aaron Judge, it would be Paul Goldschmidt's world. There's no doubt.
And looking at Paul Goldschmidt's card right now over here, his left side is pretty amazing. He's got walks down that 2 column on the 2-6, the 2-8, the 2-10, 2-11, right there. 5, my gosh, 10, 13, 15 walk, and another 2 hit by pitch over there. I mean, he's an on-base machine with power destruction against lefties. But against righties, it's still there. He's still getting on base. The 3 column is still loaded up with on-base percentage.
Both but the 1 and 3 column have about 27 hitting it, and he's on top of that, he's got 28 walk. It's a very formidable card.
And he's looking more like Wes Parker every day with a 1E1. Quite a fielding card, 1E1. Going down the list, we see Sandy Alcantara, the right-hander from Miami. And he's got a 7 endurance rating there. Huh, Bruce?
That's an awesome card. Yeah, it's going to be... It's a men among boys, too. But that's what this card set is. It gives a lot of different great looks for a lot of players. I think we're going to enjoy the heck out of it.
I think so too. So we're looking at the top right-handed pitchers in the set. As we go down by WAR, we have Aaron Judge at number 1, Paul Goldschmidt at number 2. We have Sandy Alcantara over Justin Verlander, who had quite a season last year. Had a chance to see him pitch live against Cleveland at one point, and he was dominant. But look at that Verlander card, and if I compare that card to Alcantara's, Alcantara has an 8.5 WAR. Verlander is at 8.0. And I guess by virtue of his innings, Alcantara might be a higher rated WAR card than Verlander, but Verlander might be a more effective card.
Right. I think this Alcantara's rating also begets his 229 innings compared to Verlander and his 178 innings. So ultimately, yes, Verlander has the best card. Alcantara has an overloaded card. I mean, he's going to be able to pitch complete games like nobody's business.
Hmm.
It's going to be a
So
tough choice.
we go down our list and we see on the hitters section, no great surprise, Manny Machado, who just supposedly extended his contract for 11 years with San Diego for $350 million. I'll reserve my thoughts on the contracts and we'll look at the card. And as we see, he is vicious. The one rating combined with his just overall slug, he has doubles on that one column beyond the home run 1 to 3 on the 5, doubles and double on 6, and then uh, a 6 split on the double on 7. So he'll get runners home from that are on base. He has that hit and run C card, Bruce, and the hit and run is an interesting thing to talk about as well. Um, I know that you had mentioned that the hit and run could be a key this year.
Well, with the lack of hitting, a 240 average is going to kill a lot of teams. And they got to be more resourceful than just look at the numbers and die swinging. And that's where the super advanced X chart, the small ball stuff comes into play. Bunting, squeeze play, stealing, and hit and run.
Hmm. And we're going to see that this year, and we're going to discuss that in a little while. We're going to talk a little more about the cards, but I'd like to re-explore the hit and run and the speed of the 2023 set as we go. We get now to Freddie Freeman. The Freddie Freeman card is always good, and
It's
this year is a little
a
bit of a surprise because Freeman, his defense has gone down to a 3. And what
well,
are we seeing here, Bruce? We're seeing another card loaded with doubles and homer on that one column.
I beg to, it's with so many Strat-o-matic cards under his belt, Freddie Freeman looks the same as ever. Just, just that 3 sticks out like a sore thumb. I don't get it.
It does. Was there that much of a drop off?
Well, I think there was an adjustment by Strata on a lot of ratings, and we saw a whole new group fall into the 3 category, especially uh, the people who were expected to get 1 and 2s may have dropped the 3s. Uh,
Yes. And
I-
he's definitely fell victim to that 3.
right, as well as Javi Baez and several other well-known players that got 3s instead of even 2s.
Interesting card, Javi Baez. He's a year or two removed off a sensational campaign a couple of years ago. And last year, his defense, which I thought was his speed and his defense were the crown jewels of his game, and he took a 3. Now, does that speak more towards diminishing capability, or does that speak to Detroit Tigers' overall performance affecting a Strat-o-matic card?
Or does it talk to the fact that Strat-o-matic downgraded a lot of people like Javi Baez down
Yeah.
to a 3? And I think it is the
Did
last.
he fall that far from grace? You know.
He may have been there for a while. We don't even know. That's for Strat to tell us. We get to deal with the consequences of these actions, though.
That's
And
true.
you should keep in mind before you cut Javi Baez, he has a lefty card to beat the Bandits. A very tough lefty card where he has 34 hit and 2 walk. And with that, he's got 330 power. It is a monstrously powerful card. You might want to look at it and keep it around just for that, or to see if he bounces back.
The upside potential is very, very high. He's one of those cards that could be a sleeper card if he's available in your draft or available for trade. Um, Going back to that, I think if we come over here to the list, Again, I see a card, a right-handed pitcher who rated very, very highly, Alek Manoah. Aha! Now Manoah's, this would be his second card, and look what we're seeing already in the second year. We're seeing perhaps the third best rated righty pitcher.
Right. And it, so what
He's
we're seeing,
blank.
so what we've seen this year is a lot of what Manoah gives. He's devastating against righties and he's weak against lefties. Three-quarters of the righty pitchers tend to look like this, and the other 25-30% are reverse. It isn't a very good straight up year. You're either going to get hurt by lefties or hurt by righties, and the strongest inclination is the card you see here with Alek Manoah. In the replays I've run, he's still been very effective. So it just goes to show you this year is going to be a bunch of righties trying to kill a bunch of righties.
True. Now, I've always had a preference for the reverse righties. Obviously, teams like to stack lineups against the one-sided pitchers, but I always love to have that reverse righty in there who kind of takes the bat out of the right-hander's hands. So let's go down the list. We see Jose Ramirez, the great third baseman from Cleveland. Another, he's a a 2-rated third baseman now, 2E13. But that's still good enough because that card against righties is pretty strong. Against lefties, not as much. But that card against righties makes him a very worthwhile player to consider.
Well,
And he's got some speed. Look at the variables on him. 2 to 5 and 12. And he's got a 17-12 front and back number on his steal, but they also have him as a hit and run B and running 17. That's quite a player.
Yeah, it's the full package, really.
Now, Bruce, could you imagine him in extra innings? Wouldn't you want him up with nobody out?
Oh, we're going to talk about that later, but setting up hit and run to win your extra inning games is certainly a category that needs to be addressed.
And we will address that tonight. We have Mike Trout, who, again, he looks absolutely ridiculous. The Trout card is just loaded with power, but, you know, the defense is down to a 2. The arm is a -1. He's still fantastic. A lot of walks and a lot of power.
I think Mike Trout has been what he was from the moment he showed up, the best player in the set. And he's just another great card right here. Coming into this year, he's my number one player, period.
So we move down the list from Trout, and the next player would be Altuve, who gets a 3 at second base this year. But the bat absolutely carries this card. Take a look.
That's spooky card.
Spooky card, anywhere that you are. He doesn't really run, but he can run.
Right.
And
it's still 15. That's the top crust. He's still
a top shelf guy.
Still at the top of his game.
Dylan Cease. So as a right-handed pitcher, after Alcantara, Verlander, we have to look at Dylan Cease. Dylan Cease has very few weaknesses. The only weakness I can see is against lefties, having the walks. You know, he's got like 9 walk over there on the 5 column. That's a weakness, but certainly this is a winning card.
Losing the +9 was huge.
Nolan Arenado. We take a look at Nolan, a 1E15, and he's still Nolan Arenado. And here's his card. Tremendous power against lefties.
Right, again, a B hit and runner. There's a lot of B hit and runners this year.
Now, here's the thing: the WAR has Arenado rated behind Ramirez. How do you see that?
Uh, uh, I think they're both excellent. If you got anybody in that category, you're top tenning it.
Mm-hmm.
And Arenado is being grossly underrated by the press and things like that. But when it comes to Strat, he's still a perfect fit for my team.
Sure is. I wanted to, if we go down the list a little bit, we see Mookie Betts and Julio Urias. But just jumping at the Betts card, although the hit numbers are down, obviously with the batting average, we still see a Mookie Betts card. Big power, 1-4. His running numbers are down to 14. So he could be trending down ever so slightly, but this is still a top percent card.
Especially against lefties, he has plenty of on base there. His on base collectively is a 340. It shows mortality, but he's still got his speed, defense, and power. Five tool player.
Sure is. We go down to Julio Urias, the left-handed starter. We're seeing our first left-handed person here, and Strat-o-matic is telling us that by WAR, I'm going to sort the pitchers for a moment. I'm going to go to player sort, and I'm going to do a pitcher sort by WAR for starting pitchers. And when I do, here are the names that I'm coming up with: Urias, Fried, Gallen, Otani, Valdez, Bieber. Now, there's a card, Perez, Martin Perez, who's much further down the list. And here we have Urias as the top lefty. Urias over Fried. Let's see, what is the difference between Urias and Reed? Here's the Urias card. And he is looking really clean against lefties, isn't he, Bruce?
Yes,
But against righties, there's a little bit of that on base. Not too much. This is a top card.
this is true.
With a -3 hold, which is going to be important. And with that, I want to stop right here.
Right. I'll take a minute here and point out that Urias is right heavy, and he's mortal against righties. So that is the difference between what we're seeing between Urias and Fried, where it's evenly distributed left and right on Fried. On Urias, you can beat him with a bunch of righties. And that's what you're going to find with a lot of the lefties and moving forward, that you're going to either be able to beat most pitchers either by stacking lefties or righties. It's really come down to that.
So, okay, so Bruce, we took a quick little look at some of the top cards in this set, and I'd like to take a look a little bit about the super advanced X rating chart and some strategies for this upcoming year. There was some discussion amongst some of the groups about the super advanced X chart. What are your thoughts as far as winning strategies and that X chart?
I think a generation's gone by where bunting and all the small ball talk has been laid back, and the talk has been what the angle of the fly ball and how many high angles of the fly ball you can get in a set.
Video game baseball.
It is. Fortunately, just getting a contact hitter isn't going to necessarily fix your problems this year with a 240 league average. And what I'd like to point out, I started to point out in the previous episode, was that hit and run is a valuable asset, and this card set, because of its extremes, it has 200 base stealers. It has over 70 hit and run Bs. It has over 100 hit and run Cs. Everybody's a hit and run. I want to explain a scenario to you. And the scenario is it goes to extra innings and the game puts somebody at second base. Now there's 20 guys who are in this card set that are freaks. They have triple A stealing capabilities. Not that they're rated triple A's, but what the criterion I used ultimately was over a 37% chance to get their lead and at least 17 to 19 in their lead number. And there was some 19 of these players. And so
specifically speaking, when you're talking about the probability and the chances, we're talking about the chances off of the die roll.
Second, right. And so the lead number is the first one, and they all had 17s. So I like to read you these names. They're important names.
Okay.
And Clarinet's just looking like a great all-around tool, too. Engel, Witt, Garrett, Moore, White, Allen, Thompson, Rosarina, Birdie, Locastro, Chisholm, Williams, Sierra, Duggar, Eaton, Mateo, Mullins, and Acuna. They are all important players to have this year on your team. And I'll try to explain to you why. Let's take a look at that Locastro card now, Marc.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it up here in a second. Tell us about the getting a lead. What you're looking for in getting a lead that would put him in such rare stratosphere.
I want to create a scenario for our viewers here, and they understand the game. And so when you have 10th inning come, and you have a guy on second, you want two things to happen. You want to put one of these top 20 on second base, and you want to get a B hit and runner. And now I'll explain why. It's because on the charts, you have a B becomes an A when he's held. They are going to have to hold any of these guys on second base. And the B will become an A. And
Can you hold up the chart a little bit so they can see the chart that you prepared?
Right. So the A's will get 8 hits in 30 chances, and 6 they will have to see your a brilliant stealer will have to steal. So the number next to the 8 of 30 is and there's Locastro. Look at this guy run. This guy is a 2 to 12, 19, 15. When have you ever seen
AAA. We saw that with Billy Hamilton's card about 2 seasons ago.
Right.
We saw the 1916 with a 2 to 12 get a hold. I saw that card, and he was available in our draft, and I put a high draft pick on it because it was invaluable.
So with Tony Locastro at second base, you bring in your B hit and runner. He becomes an A with the hold, and he gets 8 hits. He hits 267, 8 out of 30. And then on top of that, he gets 23 positive results and 13 bad ones out of 36. He gets 23 good chances out of 30. When you just take a look at it straight up and don't count the base stealing. He has a 77% success chance. And that's what you should be doing with that, without nobody out.
With a runner on second.
It is going to give you an extreme advantage in that either club your way in or not. I'd much rather the 77% chance of having a guy at third with one out.
That's exactly the point. So now that's a strategy that somebody would have to consider for the new rule. Well, for the recent rule changes. I say new. The recent rule changes. If you're starting out with a runner on second base and perhaps you're a home team and you've survived the top half of the inning, well, how could you not consider uh, even a hit and run to get that guy to third base at that point?
What you should be considering is the fact that even a C
will move the runner over to third.
67% chance of success. So
somebody mentioned that AAA Vince Coleman stealing rating, Charm City 77. Thank you. Yes, but now going into the extra innings to get that runner over to third with one out seems to be a very, very safe, sound strategy. However, you can work that out.
It's actually more
a C hit and run will get the job done.
So if you understood
66% of the time,
properly, this card set is just loaded with base runner followed by a ground ball or a hit and run B or C. You should be planning that for your whole season. You should work it, and you should find every one of those combinations and have them set up so you have a great base stealer followed by a B hit and runner or a C even. Ultimately, math is on your side. If they're with or without power, it's going to work. And if you can imagine, if you do it throughout your lineup, all the K's on the pitcher's card in hit and run situations turn to ground ball C's.
Right, so, and your runner will pick up that base.
Right, they're all nice options compared to swing away.
Right. So where somebody, I remember we had read recently, somebody was questioning whether the hit and run was used anymore. The answer would be yes, and it could be used very, very effectively as part of a winning strategy, especially this year with so many starred runners. What did you see this year as far as starred runners?
Well, on top of that, when you're going to use it is when they're going to be bringing out their best pitchers. And their best pitchers are always loaded with strikeouts, and they all turn to ground ball C's when you hit and run.
Right. So that's basically one strategy that you could use the hit and run to your advantage. So we were talking about the X chart and the percentages tonight. We talked a little bit about some of the new baseball cards, and we will be talking about other topics in the future going forward.
Awesome,
Bruce,
Mark.
I really appreciate your time. It's always fun. There's one comment that just came in here. It says from KMac, if possible, occasionally film charts and cards while providing the commentary. I appreciate the feedback from everybody. We're kind of new at the operation. I'd love to see if I could do that too. And I appreciate that feedback. It would look good, wouldn't it, to have like the card up there?
Good. Yeah, maybe next time.
I would love that. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Those of you who stuck around, I'll try to repost a rebroadcast later on the channel, maybe for tomorrow, so other people can review it. And for the Ultimate Strat Baseball channel, this is Mark and Bruce, and have a good night.
Yeah, love you guys. Go Strat.
Love you guys, and all your comments that you've left, thank you so much. I look forward to doing it again real soon. Bye, guys. Bye, Bruce.
Bye.